you can have your solar directly onto the DC bus. You can have your loads onto the DC bus, and you just draw power from a DC bus, and the grid doesn't need to. In my second last semester, my dad had actually come across an article. It was an advertisement in the newspaper that there's a solar PV projects workshop that is happening for a 2-day program. My dad pushed me and he said that it looks promising. There is a future in solar.
Just been sitting down with Gaurav from Pixii. Now, Gaurav is an electrical engineer, a passionate man, and he loves his sports. We discussed his short stint in the public sector at a local Victorian council, and then his foray into Pixii. And we also cover his growing up. He had a very interesting childhood. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the podcast. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to this channel and also to GreenROOOM Academy. Let's start at the beginning. You're born in India. What part of India were you born?
So I was born in the city of Mumbai, which a lot of people living in Mumbai would call it, or especially in India, would call it a city of dreams. So I think if you work hard consistently throughout your life, you will make it big in a city like Mumbai. So I grew up in the city of Mumbai, which is also called as a hustle city, as in you would work a lot hard, and it's very competitive out in the market. So right from the young age, you are taught to be competitive. So I think that's...
Is that something as a kid you feel like you from a young age that this is a competitive market living there?
I would say yes, but I would put it in a way that because most of my schooling years have been playing sports. So I've used to play soccer. We used to call football in India,
yep.
But here we call soccer.
The real football, yeah.
Yeah, the real football. So yeah, as in most of my competitive nature has been shaped through my initial years of playing soccer. So yeah, I think that's where the competitive spirit, and also we used to live in an apartment complex where you would have, after school, you would have kids coming down playing all sorts of sports. So I've played most of the sports while growing up in the apartment complex that I've lived in, and you'll find people of your same age playing sports, and I think that's where the competitive spirit as well as understanding of losing and winning kind of shaped a lot of that in the initial few years. I think I think that's the competitive side of things.
Interesting. And so you can put a competitive side that's sort of nurtured by a city that's very competitive.
Yes.
Because Mumbai's pretty big. Have you got any idea how many million people in Mumbai?
I believe it's around it's around 20 million plus people.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Okay. So it's hard in
30.
Australia because the whole country only has 27 million.
Yes.
And we're big geographically, but small population wise. Did you have siblings, like brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have a older brother who's around 5 years older to me, and a lot of what I used to play, because I used to play with people of his age as well.
Wow.
So apparently it kind of helped me learn a lot from playing with the big boys. So yeah, I think it's more around, as in he's kind of played a big part in me growing up, because I was looking up to him as well. I think
that plays a role, doesn't it? Like you had an older brother. Was he like almost a bit of a mentor to you? Like
I would say not a mentor as such. It's just that he wouldn't tell me to do things like this or like that. I think it's more about me learning from him, looking up to him, rather than he mentioning, oh, you need to do this, or I would go to him to, how do I go about these things? I think it's more for me is that I've observed him.
He led by example, by the
Yes.
sound of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
and especially in the sports, because he used to play a lot of sports as well, cricket, soccer. So I've kind of tried to learn a bit from him. I think he's been a bit of influence in my life as well. So yeah,
it's interesting because I hear things like that, and I always think the nature, genetics versus nurture.
Yeah.
Who in your family, apart from your brother and yourself,
Yeah.
like I'm talking about your mum or your dad or
Yeah.
uncle, was the sporty one?
I think my father used to play cricket a bit growing up. I think like any other Indians would do. I think they would play in the streets, especially. So he's played a lot of cricket growing up, but he did not play at on any professional level. I think on the sporting side, I think Daddy used to play a bit. I think a lot of genetics genes has come through him, I believe.
Yeah.
He may not have played enough soccer as such, but I think if he would have played, he would have been a good soccer player.
I think you're right here. I think
Yeah.
most people who play a particular sport well can transition to other sports because they understand the essence of
Yes.
what it is and they have the coordination.
Yeah.
I will say cricket is one of the hardest games, so compared to the others, because I've played them all, and I think batting in cricket, when the ball can spin through the air and when it hits the ground it can cut,
Yes.
is very hard. But I was more of a soccer and Australian rules, and I played lacrosse as well, so I understand
Okay.
ball games. You know,
Yes. Yeah. It's quite similar. Yeah.
Now, this is the question I ask of all engineers. As a kid, were you the kind of person who used to want to know how things worked? Did you like pull things apart and see what's going on and try to put them back together again? Not always successfully.
Yes. Yeah.
See, every engineer says yes to that question. Everyone.
Yeah. I think
It's true.
yes,
And this is a nature thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's something that now you realize after you have asked that question. I think I've kind of thinking back and thinking about it that yes, that may have been part of my nature. Yes, I used to pull out things, break things purposely, to then try to fix it. But and in that process, I've also learned is that again, I used to get a lot of beatings while growing up if you break things intentionally or if you're trying to do things. So you'll just be wary of things, of not doing anything foolish. But that was a nature that yes, we used to open some cars, the toy cars and stuff, and see if we could fix those things. I think that was something that I did briefly while growing up. Yeah.
But it sounds like you. I mean, obviously you're an electrical engineer by profession.
Yes.
But obviously, when you were young, you had this real drive. You're a sporting kind of person. You're an active person.
Yes, definitely.
How do you like? And I'm jumping forward a little bit. How do you professionally find that balance between a sedentary job? Let's face it.
Yeah.
A lot of engineering is sitting down in front of a computer.
Yes.
And the fact that that's not very physical, and the physical requirements of a human being.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
I think as part of, despite me doing electrical engineering, I think once I got into the profession of doing into solar projects, I think my first job was doing solar projects for residential and small commercial segment, and that role was more around doing sales and marketing, doing project management side of things. And that involved a lot of moving, going to the site, talking to the people, meeting the contractors, and getting the work done. I think that was more around that. And as part of doing the project management, I had to do some desk job, doing the modeling, understanding the electricity bill, finding out a proper solution for the customer. I think that was more around that, but my job kind of involved both outdoors as well as indoors.
Okay.
I think that was really helpful, and I wouldn't love to sit at a desk and do the job most of the time. I think I would rather prefer to go out on site, meet customers, talk to them, understand their problems, and try to find a solution for them. And once we have sold a system successfully, then also trying to manage the projects, ensuring whatever has been committed by the salespeople. And in that scenario, I used to sell and I used to project management as well.
Interesting.
Because it was a small company that I worked with. So I think that was something that really shaped the initial few years for me.
Okay.
And I kind of enjoyed doing that kind of
That
path.
makes sense.
Yes.
All right, well, let's jump back a little bit, back to the growing up. So you're still in Mumbai. You went to high school. At what stage did you start to think, oh, I wouldn't mind doing engineering?
It's an interesting thing. I think typically for a lot of Indians, I think some might agree, some might not, but a lot of people would say if you score a certain percentage above a threshold, you would normally end up doing you'll take science stream where you have medical and engineering branches, and if you score slightly lower, you'll go into commerce, management things and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's a few things around that, but things have changed a lot. I think during my years, I think right after 10th, we had an option. I scored a fair bit better than what most people would do, and because I scored a bit better marks in that scenario, I had to. Then a lot of peers would choose a science stream, and that's where I chose science.
Could have been a doctor though.
No, I would have never been a doctor. I would have always. So engineering, I think it's more about problem solving.
Yes.
Stuff for me, and I think engineering was the only option in that scenario. This is what led me to take up the engineering and then pursue for it, give exams, score marks, and pass out. I think that was more on the engineering side that led me, as in after then, because I scored some good marks, I opted for science, and in science then I had only option of doing engineering because I believe in solving problems.
That is one thing that makes engineers very desirable as employees. Not necessarily in engineering.
Yep.
You see a lot of engineers who have done their degree, but they're doing something else. They're doing network administration, they're doing whatever. Only because they can problem solve. Do you naturally have problem solving abilities? Like you, personally yourself, have you always been a rational, critical thinker when it comes to stuff?
I would say yes. I think I do think rationally, and I think I sometimes my wife would say I overthink, but I think thinking rationally is something part of my nature. With regards to the problem solving nature, I think it's more to do with I think I'll just circle it back to my growing up days where I used to play a lot of sports. I think that is something you'd always find ways to win. And so while growing up, I was a bit short and very skinny. And I know, as in whenever you play soccer, and if I see some big boys defending in a match, I would mostly think ways of going past through them. I think kind of I could recollect something on those lines in the initial growing up years, that I think I figured out ways of moving past them while playing soccer.
Interesting.
I think that's.
So you're talking about technique, developing a technique,
and yes, and identifying a problem, and then managing it and finding a solution.
Gotcha.
To tackle that. I think that is something that has innately come in through playing sports for me.
Sometimes it's not just about finding the right answer; it's actually about finding the right question.
Yes,
which is, it sounds cliche, but it's very true when you actually think about it. All right, so you're at high school. At what point did you sort of go, yeah, all right, I'm doing well, I've got some decent marks? Was it later on in year 12, or was it earlier on that you had a feeling that, I don't mind this, science kind of STEM stuff?
Yeah, okay. I think it came a bit later in my life for me. I think it came in my 4th year of engineering.
But you picked engineering. Wow.
Yeah. So I think it came a bit late in terms of choosing the renewable energy / solar energy field. That came a bit later in my life. I think towards the end of 4th year. And the initial few years at the engineering college, I felt that I might be able to make it big in soccer or
Wow.
any other profession.
You were that good. No false modesty.
I wouldn't say the best, but I
Wow.
used to play a bit.
Well, to even think that that might be a profession, you must have been pretty
Yes.
bloody good. Yeah, that's really wow.
Yeah. It's just that during those years, I think football wasn't that big in India.
Yeah.
So again, the entire focus and the money was in cricket. But soccer was an upcoming sport. I think there's a new league which has started a few years ago. I think that is kind of, as in you're able to make some money out there. But again, only if you reach at that top level.
Yes.
But again, from the perspective of a career and a long-term career making money, I think soccer or football during my time wasn't so lucrative.
Yeah.
And that's and I think in my final year of engineering, that's when we have to undertake an engineering project as a final year project that we need to deliver at the end of the year. I think in my second last semester, my dad had actually come across an article in the newspaper. It was an advertisement in the newspaper that there's a solar PV projects workshop that is happening for a 2-day program. And my dad pushed me, this looks promising. I think it was in year 2015. And he said that it looks promising. There is a future in solar. It's related to your electrical engineering. Why not give it a try?
Your dad was smart. He knew. He knew. He could see.
And he kind of pushed me to go and undertake that 2-day workshop. And that's after that workshop. So we had a group of 4 people to undertake that project. We had initially chosen a different topic for a final year project. But after that workshop that I did, I convinced the other 3 people in my group, let's go and do a project, do a final year project on something related to solar.
Right.
So
what, together?
Yes.
Wow.
Together, yeah.
Wow.
So we did a prototype, again, not the best looking solar tree. So we did a solar tree, off-grid solar tree, and the application was to operate the solar tree as a street lighting, plus you can charge your mobile phones and stuff, small loads.
Wow.
I think that was the project that we did undertake in 2015. And I think we did some research papers, and not sure how did that happen, but I ended up on some papers reading about the Australian market. In India, it was still in the nascent stage, the solar industry. I think it kind of started in 2012 in India. I think it again, all the commercial applications where it made commercial sense. I think the project started in 2012. I think so. But I think it took some time. Again, because India is such a huge country, every state has different regulations. So the state that I belong to is Maharashtra. The favorable policy came in around late 2015.
Yeah, right.
So I think it kind of helped us.
Are you saying that there can be quite a difference between the different states in regards to regulations?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and all the and it's pretty complex system out there.
And it's still it hasn't changed in that respect.
No, every state has different regulations, and because it's more of a state subject rather than a federal subject.
Right.
So I think every state has its own commission, electricity commission, and then they make rules and stuff.
Do they have the same setup like we do with the DNSP, but the retailer? The customer actually deals with the retailer, who deals with the DNSP. Is it the same kind of setup, or
it's a bit different? So, in most states, barring a few urban tier 1 cities, you'll have the DNSP. We call it Discom there. They act as your retailer as well as your distributor. So
all in one.
all in one, yeah.
They make more money that
and,
way.
and it's a government entity. It's a semi-government entity.
Okay.
So it's still government owned entities that are operating, and then in cities you might have some private retailers who would be selling electricity,
Right.
but they might have their own distribution lines as well. So they act as a private DNSPs as well. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, so you've seen what's going. You've done this this project. This is the final year. You sort of looked at what the Australian experience was, what was happening there.
Yeah.
Did you actually work in India before you came to Australia, or you said, "No, that's it, I'm going"? What happened?
So I think after my engineering, I think most people tend to go out and study, undertake masters and stuff. I think a lot of Indians would prefer to go to US or Europe to undertake a master's degree. Australia was still one of the options, but I had in my mind that I want to work for a few years before I undertake any master's
Right.
degree and stuff.
Right.
So I decided to, because I knew that I want to go into solar energy, renewable energy field. After my college degree, I was looking out for opportunities to work in solar sector. So I was quite specific that I want to work in this sector. Again, it was still nascent, but I had made up my mind that I want to work in this industry. So yes, and I started working with a few initial startup companies. The first company that I worked with had some connection to a company here based in Sydney. Again, it feels surreal that there are a lot of connections to Australia, even though I didn't know that I would end up here.
Yeah, wow. It was meant to be.
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, I think the first job I was working, it was a startup. It was 3 to 4 people working in that company. So I had to do a lot of other admin stuff.
You wore lots of hats.
Yeah. And it's fun. I think you get to learn a lot in such organizations. And then we did deliver some small commercial projects, residential style projects in India, in the first company that I worked with. And then as I progressed into my career, I ended up, the last job that I was doing, where we were selling energy to large multinational corporations through long-term power purchase agreements up to 20, 25 years.
PPAs.
Yes. So we would normally do both on-site solar projects and then off-site either solar only or solar wind hybrid systems, and we'll sell energies to these large multinational corporations.
How did that go? Was that pretty successful?
Yes, I think it was pretty good selling energy to a lot of, because there was a shift in the mindset of a lot of these larger corporations during those times. I think I would say it's somewhere around 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
I think everyone wanted to reduce their carbon footprints, and with the industrial and the commercial sites, I think they pay they pay higher electricity rates in India. As in, you'd find it different here in Australia, that the larger companies pay lesser.
Wow.
The only reason is that a lot of residential agriculture sector and certain rural areas receive subsidized, so they cross-subsidize it.
I
So
see.
they'll
Right.
charge more to the commercial and industrial sector, and then for agriculture and residential they charge lesser. So I think that's it made more sense from the finance part as well, that
Sounds
they
like
get
yeah.
they get a payback period of less than 3 years or 4 years.
Wow.
And now I think they're getting payback period less than 2 years as well for
That's
certain commercial.
phenomenal.
Yes.
That is.
So it was a no brainer for all of
It's
all
a
of
no brainer. Wow.
Yes.
That's
So,
really
yeah.
interesting. I didn't realize it was like
And
that.
also
Is that still the same over there now?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It's just that they're just trying to push. So I think before we started this, I think I was talking about the net metering policy that is there.
Yeah.
In India. I think that kind of favors a lot. I think for the C&I sector especially, what it did is that normally your solar would generate from 7 to 6 in India, and then whatever outside of those hours, if you generate more during the daytime, you export it back to the grid. That export energy is credited into your
One for
electricity
one.
account. It's like for like.
Like
Yes.
for like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Makes the most sense, doesn't it?
yes. So whatever operations were running during the night time, you can offset it with the energy that you generate, excess energy that you generate during the daytime.
Right.
It's just that there was a particular block, which is the peak demand period, around 6 to 10 p.m.
Yes.
That's when you are not allowed to offset the energy because the demand on the grid is the highest during that time.
Yes,
so they would
gotcha.
rather not allow you to offset it. And I think that's where an opportunity for having a battery energy storage systems could be a possible solution there to offset that particular energy. But then we found out ways, because of these large corporations would have 24/7 operations. So they would normally, so that's where the solar wind hybrid came in, because it's a complementary thing.
Wind is hard though, isn't it? Like
it
where
is.
you place the actual turbine from a design
Yeah, so
perspective.
it's more on the offsite sites.
Yeah,
So what
gotcha.
we would do, we would build 30 megawatt, 100 megawatt wind solar hybrid plants at a particular location, and then we'll connect it to the nearest distribution transmission center, and from there would be a separate billing that would happen. So you connect it on a distribution level or a transmission level.
Yep.
Whatever energy you're pushing it into the grid is recorded there, and whatever you're consuming on site, you are able to match those
Right.
in real time, and that's how you'll offset it. So typically with solar, you would be able to offset around 33 to 35% of your energy with solar, but with wind, it can take up to 55 to 60% of your total energy consumption via the
Yeah.
offsite solar and wind hybrid renewables.
It's
So
definitely harder from a design perspective with wind. Like obviously with solar, you're looking at solar irradiation for an area.
Yes.
With wind, it's not only how windy the area is, what are the other buildings around, obstructions, you need laminar flow, all of those things. And if you make a big mistake, it can be very, very costly in the actual siting of the turbine. So I prefer solar.
Yeah,
Right, son, there's a panel it's going to produce.
Even I prefer solar over wind. I think
Wind's
wind
interesting
involves-
though. It's
involves
fantastic.
a lot of
Yeah.
complexities, but I think it's complementary in nature, right? As in
Oh,
solar
totally.
you're able to generate power during the daytime, and with wind you're able to offset because wind mostly blows during the evening and the night
Yes.
time. I think it's complementary.
Yes.
And you just use a single point of connection, a transformer, and you just have solar and wind.
Yep.
Solar pushing the power during the daytime, wind during the night time,
Yeah.
and it makes it.
But if you've got good hydro 24/7.
Yeah.
But that's hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah, I think those.
Yeah.
I think that there are companies in India who are trying to integrate pump energy hydro storage plus solar plus wind together and then selling into the market. I think there's an appetite for that. Yeah.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because all of those designs are based on that discrepancy between the cost of electricity at this point in time and the cost here.
Yes.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like pump hydro, when I remember hearing the concept years ago, what? Oh, you're going to pump water up and let it fall down. What? But then makes sense if the cost of electricity
Is cheaper,
at
yeah.
certain times is considerably
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But it's still weird for me to get.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's weird.
It's a bit difficult to justify it, but I think there are some organizations who are able to make the economics work in that space. So yeah, I think it's very complex, and I think there's a lot of social impact. I think with the hydro as well. I think
True.
Yeah. I think,
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, people. Yeah, and that's
Social
something
and
that.
environmental concerns.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
totally, and it's something that most people shy away from who are pro renewables when they
Yeah.
start. When other people bring up well, hang on a sec, hydro, this can do this. You're changing the courses of rivers.
Yeah.
You're changing the alluvial soil, flooding an area it's been doing for thousands of
Yes.
years. The farmer needs that. He's not getting any more. Not to mention, there's a lot of factors, isn't there? Even that also applies to solar as well. A lot of people go, I'll put solar in a desert. Well, deserts are biodiverse as well, so all these things have to be taken into consideration. So you've done some pretty big. You've been involved in some pretty big projects.
Yeah,
are you talking 30
as
megawatt?
As in I've started with doing small residential, small commercial, and then ended up selling energy from such big power plants.
When are you getting to Australia? When did you finally say, I've done my years in the Indian renewable energy market. I've seen some big projects, wind and solar, hybrid systems, PPAs, which is a really interesting area. A lot of people don't understand how they work. At what point did you go, look, I think I've done enough. Let's go to another country. Let's pick Australia. So how did that process come about?
I think it started in 2019 itself. I did these big projects from, I guess, 2020 to 2022. But prior to that, I think in 2019, I've realized I've worked for almost 3 to 4 years in the industry, and I would want to now pursue my master's. So I was looking for some options. By that time, so I have a group of friends. We did engineering together, and a lot of them were looking to go out for masters, and we used to go out and attend events where education fair shows and stuff would happen, and we would normally go there and attend it. And we went together for this Australian education fair, and we really thought that, so again, there were two options, US and Australia. For us, Australia felt like a new place. I think, and with US, there have been a lot of people going there.
Right.
With Australia, the weather is good, and it's quite. I would say, I think the culture here is also more to do with sports as well, especially in Melbourne.
So that's why you liked it.
I think it's me and with my friends, and
gotcha.
They ended up here initially. We started the process together, but for some reasons they ended up early here in Australia. And I had plans to do my master's of engineering and engineering management from QUT University in Queensland. I had got my admissions and stuff, and I think that was towards the end of 2019. That's when I had secured an admission into this QUT University. And then shit happened. I couldn't.
I was going to say,
yes.
You timed it well.
Wow. Yes, and the option that I had is I can pursue the master's degree sitting home in India online, or wait until the borders reopen here in Australia. And just, I guess, a semester back, my then girlfriend and now wife, she had already come here to pursue her master's, and that's where she had already ended up here, and she was expecting me to join her, but that did not happen. The borders were closed for a couple of years.
That would have been
yes.
hard.
Yeah.
So for 2 years you were apart.
Yes.
For 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
And it survived. I mean, you're definitely meant to be together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Touch wood. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're about to have a baby, so wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Would have been really hard.
Yes. And then I kind of got into these companies that I was working, which were large corporations doing some so they were independent power producers doing some large on-site as well as off-site solar, wind, battery energy storage projects.
Are you allowed to mention who they are? Or?
So the company's name that I last worked was Ampin Energy Transition. They have renamed it. So it was initially AMP Energy, which is a Canadian energy company.
Yeah, I think I heard
they
of
have
them.
they
Yeah.
have some projects here in Australia as well.
Right.
The other company that I've worked was Enerpark Energy. It's a German solar energy. Now they're doing a bunch of battery energy storage projects as well. So again, they were independent power producers there. Even they have a base here in Australia. I think they must have exited it by now. But yeah, even they did some projects here in Australia. Yeah, I think those were the two companies that I've worked in those 2.5 years that I was there. After I couldn't come here for my masters, and then there was a thought process behind that. I'm doing good in India. I'm working on pretty large projects, selling energy, doing it well in India, and then there was an option because once the borders opened, my wife came to India. We had an option.
Oh, hang on. So she became she's your wife now?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. As in once she came to India, we decided to get married.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then she went back to Australia.
No, she stayed there for a while. That's when we were contemplating whether do we move to Australia together or do we stay back in India.
It's a big decision.
Yeah. And then she said that you were anyway planning to come to Australia for your studies. Things did not turn up back then, but now we have an opportunity to go. We can try it out. If it doesn't work, we can always go back to India because I knew a lot of people in the industry back because I've spent around 6 years in India. It would have been easy for me to do something of my own or get back into the workforce in India. So we then decided, let's go to Australia, try it out. Let's see how it works. If it doesn't work, we can go back. But fortunately, it has worked, and I'm here sitting in front of you now. Yes.
What was your brother's view and your mum and dad's view about all this? Did they say, good off you, go for it, do it? Or did they say, stay, what are you doing? What are you going overseas for? Why do you want to go to Australia?
Yeah. No, I think my parents have always been supportive in whatever decisions that I have taken. And
it'd be hard for them though. With their second son is not there. You know,
it's always difficult for parents to see their children go out, stay far from them.
True.
I think, but it was. They've never kind of asked me to not do these things, and to go here, not to do these stuff. I think it was. They were always supportive of the decisions that I have taken. So yeah, I think they were obviously they did shed tears when I was leaving.
Of course.
But they are happy to see me where I am currently. So yeah, no, that's something a lot of parents would feel that way. But I think because of their support, I could make certain decisions and be where I am currently. Yeah.
I mean, sounds like they were decent. They're decent parents, and obviously your old man, your father, has a bit of foresight when he's mentioned about the renewables back in 2015.
Yeah.
He could see what was going on. So when did you actually? So COVID's finished now, and when did you actually get to Australia? What year?
So I came in towards the end of November 2022 to Australia, and I think that's when I realized that Australia shuts down or stops hiring people towards the end of November or early December period until early Jan or late Jan. and I was kind of prepared for it because my wife, she is a human resources. She did her HR management and then she works for a company as an HR, so she knew the trades of the game there. And so she kind of helped me prepare that you'll have to wait for a few months to land a job. And again, I was keen on being part of the renewable energy industry, right? As in that's what I chose back in 2015, and I wanted to continue doing that. And then in that process, I was looking for opportunities in the market. And that's when I kind of landed my first job in February with Solpod.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
that was my
That
first
was your
job.
first job in Australia?
Yes.
Very interesting product.
Yeah. I believe that you guys have some
We
connection.
did have a connection with I don't know if we
Solpod.
used it on a project or not, but we did.
I think there was some
there was something,
discussions with a developer that you guys were going to undertake installation works of
That's
the Solpod
right.
product.
That's right.
Yes.
It was a while ago, but it was.
Yeah. I think it was
very-
2023 or early 2024. I'm not too sure. But
How long were you there at? And
I was
what
there- I
were
was-
you doing there?
So the primary role was, my designation was sustainability advisor. So essentially the work was
Interesting
to-
title. That's so broad, isn't it?
it was more around sustainability consultant advisory, where I was mostly selling the projects. So Solpod had an interesting model where we were trying to sell energy, where we were trying to sell solar PV projects to C&I customers who were on rental premises, as in most businesses here in
Wow,
Australia
yeah.
rental premises. So the model was that we would. So Solpod is kind of a relocatable solar solution.
Yes.
Is based on that concept, where you can put the solar panels onto the roof until the end of the lease for the business, and once they move out, we can either transfer that Solpod solution to the next incoming tenant, or the landlord can own
Purchase
it and
it,
then purchase it
yeah.
and pass it on to their.
Was this a
incoming
ballasting
tenant.
system?
No,
on the roof?
No, it was. So the Solpod solution was not. It could go on any roofs, right? It was initially funded by Arena as well, on doing some of the interesting projects. Not sure if I'm allowed to say that or not, but
Well, we'll stop you there, then, just in case.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So they did some interesting projects in Sydney. Some worked with some developers here in Australia on some shopping centers, where we delivered some Solpod projects as few pilot projects, and then we were selling into the market. And then after a few months, then we found out an interesting market in the construction industry, where a lot of construction sites would require, as in there was a mandate, or it was a contractual obligation for them to reduce their on-site emissions by the 10%, 20%.
The whole
depending on
carbon
project.
accounting stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had to find ways to reduce that on-site emissions. So they could either buy green power directly from a retailer just to reduce their footprint,
Right.
or they could do an actual physical project on site. So what we used to do is that we used to put the Solpod solution onto demountables. So those would be the temporary construction offices. We would put solar on top of it, and typical period for those construction sites would be around 2 to 3 years. So we would put the Solpod solution onto them, reduce their on-site electric grid consumption.
Grid reliance, yeah.
Yes, and then that was more for the grid connected systems. And then there were some opportunities where we worked on. A lot of these construction sites find it very difficult to get a grid connection initially.
Yes.
So they may take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to get a grid connection.
So what, you offer an off-grid solution?
Yeah, so that's when the Solpod solution, we also ventured into the off-grid solution, because these sites would normally then use a lot of diesel generators on site. The wise thing for them to do is that pair it with a battery energy storage system.
Of course.
Because
reduce their diesel consumption,
Yes.
reduce their diesel runtime, reduce the maintenance on the diesel,
and
reduce
especially
their
the
carbon.
efficiency of the diesel generator, because
Yes,
they would use based on the peak loads that they would or the maximum loads that they would identify when they are doing the trying to identify the right diesel generator size. They would go with the biggest diesel generator, and when the actual site runs, they are running at 25%.
Oh, you know, and then
it's running a lot.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, diesels love being run at 80-85%. Under 30% for continuous lighting, they get glazing. It is not a good thing for diesel generators to be underloaded for any lengths of time. Ask any company who actually hires these sets out. So an off-grid system would optimize the loading of the genset at all times.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
People must have appreciated that.
Yeah, and I think it also makes a lot of financial sense as well, because you save a lot of costs there. So yeah, I think, and then if you pair it with the solar PV, you are able to reduce your diesel consumption by 75 to 80%,
Wow.
depending upon how big the battery system you're designing and how big the solar you're planning to put. And that was a substantial savings.
Well, that's really interesting. Are they still doing that now?
I think they are not. I think the market has changed a lot in the recent years with the battery prices falling down.
Yep.
That's my personal opinion. Is more around because of the battery prices. I think they've continuously fallen in the last 2 or 3 years. Owning a battery asset back then and then renting it out for 2 years or 3 years, it's just that the cost of the depreciated value of the battery asset would still be quite higher than the cost of a new battery.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
Right.
I think once the prices of the batteries kind of stabilize, how it has happened with solar PV,
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's when it would start making more sense. But
The concept, though, is brilliant.
Brilliant, yeah. And there are still a lot of players in the market who are specifically doing
Right.
a lot of rental battery energy storage systems currently in the
Interesting.
market. And that is a huge market, especially in the construction industry, where they require temporary power for a 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year period. So I think that is a good market.
It's interesting too, because also that would maybe apply to some mining operations as well.
Yes.
That may not be there for 10 years, but only there for 1 or 2 years,
Yes.
depending. Obviously, again, it's that
think
it has to be
that-
economically viable and
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, if you're in the middle of Western Australia, the petrol price or the diesel price would be huge.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we and right at the moment we're all experiencing very high petrol
Prices.
prices because of what's going on.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what happens in the world. So you're at Solpod for how long?
So I worked there for 1.5 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was there for.
And then
1.5
after
years.
that, what was
After
the next?
that, the next job that I undertook was working for a local government council.
Right.
I think that was an interesting opportunity for me.
So you're talking going from the private sector to the public sector.
Yes, and I always wanted to have that experience and have that exposure to be working with the public sector. I think.
Why though?
I
ask because a lot of people will either go, I want to be in the public sector. I don't want to know the private.
Yeah.
Or I'm in the private sector. Don't want to know the public.
Yeah.
You've done both.
Yes.
You did the private first, and then you're going, I sort of want to see what it is. Was it more just because you wanted to see what it was like?
Yeah, I think I think one is that the opportunity came to me, that there's an opportunity where I could deliver some solar and battery projects for the council, and it's a short 9-month stint that I would have to undertake, and it was a challenge for me. And the other aspect was more around that my father has worked for a local government council in India, and that's, I think, the city that I come from is Mumbai, and it has one of the biggest budgets in the world for a local government council. It's really big. So I thought that it's interesting. I'm able to do what I have always done, delivering solar projects, battery projects, and also get that experience of working for a government. Sure, the working styles are quite different. It's very fast paced in working in a private sector, whereas the decision making and everything is quite slow in public sector. But I think one of the good things is that it's also slow because they have to think a lot about everything else as well, how it affects the community, if you're spending it wisely or not. I think that's a bit of an interesting a positive side, I feel.
Ooh.
And at times it may feel that it's you're wasting your time,
Interesting.
but also at the end, once you realize you have delivered a project successfully, you'll find that once a community is happy with what you have delivered, it kind of helps you. I think it makes you happy in general. I think that job satisfaction level is quite high, and that in that scenario, when people come and say that, oh, thanks for delivering this project, it would be very helpful for us during the times where there's a storm event or there's.
Oh, so you're talking about a community? Was there a community battery involved?
Yes. Yeah. So it was more around resilience batteries, I would say, that we were delivering. Yes.
Those resilience batteries, they can get complicated from a perspective of what role they actually serve and what their hierarchy, their priority hierarchy is. Are they primarily UPS? Backup if the grid goes down. Are they doing some tariff optimization? What's the mix between the UPS and tariff optimization? It can get pretty detailed. Is that what you found with the particular projects you're involved in?
So I think the projects that
without going into details.
As in the projects that I delivered were behind the meter solutions,
right?
And those were basically on sports pavilions and community centers, where. So again, if you're putting solar on a sports pavilion, the daytime consumption is pretty low. So having a battery makes sense, where you're doing the renewable energy shifting, where you're generating power during the daytime. You do not have enough base load, as you're just getting to the base load, and whatever excess is generating is getting stored in the battery. And during the evening, that's when a lot of consumption happens at these sports pavilions, and that's where the battery will come into the picture.
Yep.
And then the other part that is more around reducing the electricity bills for the sports teams there.
Yeah.
With the installation of solar and having a battery to reduce their energy consumption during the nighttime, because that's where, and also reduce some of the peak consumption there. And then with a lot of batteries that are in the market currently, you can tell the battery to reserve a certain capacity to be available during the times where you think there would be a grid outage and there would be a storm event or a bushfire event.
Yes.
That's where you'll reserve your battery capacity to a certain level.
Yes.
Which could be used if the power goes down, if the grid goes down, you have your solar and battery still to cater to your energy requirements. So I think, and again, it isn't as straightforward as it sounds. You also need to ensure that a lot of people would think if there's a battery, you can run any appliance that's on site.
Yeah.
So I think that involved a lot of stakeholder engagement, initial consultation with them. In cases, in an event of a grid outage and a bushfire event or a storm event, what are the critical loads that you would want in a refuge center for it to be operating, so that the community can come in and be there. I think that initial phase of consultation with them, just to understand what critical loads would they require, and letting them know that this is what the critical loads that we are going to back it up during a power outage situation, and this is the battery capacity that we have installed, and you'll be able to have a limited capacity of battery energy to utilize during those times. And again, the solar will still recharge the batteries, but you need to be mindful of how much energy you're using during those times. So
very true.
Having that conversation and making the community understand what's the available battery capacity to you, what are the critical loads that we have backed up, and use the energy wisely during those times. I think it was a critical piece that needs to be, and I think I've learned during the process of during those projects for the council work. So yeah, I think at the end, it gave me a lot of satisfaction knowing that people would utilize those sites during times of crisis, and I have been part of that solution for them. So yeah,
Excellent.
It was quite satisfying there.
You stayed. It was a short stint at the council, and then obviously I assume you've moved back to the private sector, and
Yes.
because now you're at Pixii.
Yes.
So you got this. So you got that Pixii job straight away, straight after council.
Yes, and fortunately for me, I actually met the regional director for Pixii at an event where they had their batteries installed, and that event where council was also part of that project, and that battery event, that's where I met the regional director, and that's where we connected. And I always wanted to get into the battery energy storage space. I was still doing solar and battery projects, but I wanted to work for a battery supplier, just to get more into the battery energy storage systems, how it works, what are the technical aspects of it. Just wanted to learn more about the battery energy storage space. And fortunately, I met the regional director. I think it was the right place at the right time for me, moment for me. And and that's where I met the regional director there. And I messaged him on LinkedIn, and he then set up a meeting. I said, I'm interested to work with Pixii. He set up a meeting with me.
Hang on. So there was no job advertised.
It was advertised for other locations. It was advertised for Queensland. They never so Pixii wanted someone to be in Melbourne as well, but they never posted a job for that. But
Wow.
when I reached out, it kind of happened in that manner. So yes, and that's how I was first introduced to Pixii. I got to know they're doing a community battery project, and I think it was it was at that moment I felt that okay, I should be part of this company. I would love to work for this company, and fortunately, I am working with them.
So obviously, I'd like you to explain to me a little bit about who Pixii are, what they do, and how they do it. But what was the appeal? Because look, there's a few battery companies out there.
Yes.
What did you see in Pixii that you went, yeah, I really want to work for these guys?
Yeah.
What was it?
I think for me, with Pixii, the main driving factor was that I had personally seen an unveiling of the battery event there, and the initial speech that the regional director, his name is Neil, he did at that event, and that kind of pulled me into this, because Pixii in Australia were heavily focused on community batteries, especially, and that's where, since I was working for the council, wanted to be closer to the community, and I really enjoyed that, and we are making a positive impact onto the community, and Pixii's focus on the community battery space, that really pulled me towards Pixii. I think there are other companies who have different focuses in the residential sector, commercial sector, utility sector. But with Pixii, I think we were initially focused on the DNA. So a lot of community batteries were being awarded to DNSPs and the local community groups, and that's where my initial liking for the Pixii came from. I think that was the moment where I felt okay, I would want to work with Pixii. Again, just to give you a brief, so Pixii is a Norwegian company. They have been in the rectifier power conversion industry for several decades now. And in 2018 they started Pixii as a company, where Pixii. So we have this modular nature of the inverters, so we can scale that system to multi-megawatt systems. So it's
as well as the batteries being modular, it's the inverter.
Inverters technology is also modular.
Just gives a background of what Pixii is. It's not just the energy storage. It's not the best. It's not just the energy storage component.
Yes.
You're talking about the whole kit and caboodle, and the point of difference by the sound of it is that the inverters are actually have a modular aspect as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Please explain.
Yeah. No, I think that was also one of the interesting because it's different. I think that was also one of the reasons that it kind of pulled me towards applying for this job, that they have a different technology. So Pixii inverter technology is essentially a 3.3 kilowatt bidirectional inverter, single phase inverter, and you can configure it to work as a 5 kilowatt MPPT module, or you can make it work as a rectifier, or you can just normally work it as a normal inverter, and then you have a bidirectional inverter as well. So with the same, so it's called a Pixii box, and with the same Pixii box, you can have around 4 types of applications with it, and you just need to configure it.
So it's
accordingly.
the
Same
program.
box.
The hardware is the same.
Yes.
It's the programming that determines its functionality.
Yes.
This is very interesting.
Yes, and that allows us to do a lot of. It gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of what we can do.
So you can do some series paralleling, can't you? You can parallel to 3-phase, then you can series up multiple three-phase.
You can do solar. You can do DC coupled generators as well, and yeah, it can do a lot of stuff. I think it's the modularity as well as the flexibility of Pixii that kind of is quite unique in that aspect.
And how big can you go from an inverter capacity perspective, 3-phase on the units currently?
Yeah, so you can build systems from a 3.3 kilowatt to up to, so we have delivered the biggest, I think I may not have the right numbers, but we have delivered in around 20-30 megawatt hours of systems that we have delivered, and in terms of the power conversion, we have done up to 5 to 10 megawatt of systems.
With the same three?
Yes, so you'll have multiple of those cabinets, you'll parallel them. So again, in Australia, we are selling, on that technology, we are selling a system called Power Shaper XD, which essentially you can have up to 50 kilowatts of your MPPT, your 50 kilowatts of your inverter, bidirectional inverter modules, which is the Pixii boxes, and then you can have up to 112 kilowatt hours of energy storage in it. So it's a single cabinet, you can do it, and then you can, if you want, you can configure it to act as a hybrid cabinet as well, where you have 30 kilowatts of bidirectional inverter, you can have up to 45 kilowatts of your MPPT modules, you can reduce one of the modules, one of the rows, and you can have the Pixii boxes acting as rectifiers. You can do DC coupled diesel generators as well.
Wow, I was going to ask, yes. There's definitely a diesel input. So
you can still do that.
So you could, so for example, a lot of the way, and I know maybe this is not your market, but a lot of way out in the middle of regional Australia, there's got a lot of old off-grid systems, completely cattle stations.
Yeah,
they're invariably 3-phase. You're talking about 20, 30 people living at these stations. These are like little factories.
Yes.
Yeah. This would be a perfect case for Pixii, wouldn't it? Because you can go completely off grid.
And we have delivered subsystems in this space already in regional Queensland and remote locations of Northern Territory.
Wow.
Where it wasn't specifically for a community, but it was more on the EV charging, off-grid EV charging skids. So we have developed an EV charging skid where you can have your solar, which can, and again, everything is built out of a factory in Brisbane, and it's shipped directly to the site on a skid, and you just place
plug
it
and play.
Yes, yeah. So essentially, we have our Pixii battery system along with a Pixii EMS solution, which controls your solar PV, your diesel gensets, as well as your EV chargers. So the entire solution is delivered by Pixii. We control your EV chargers. The diesel gensets are DC coupled. You have your solar as well connected to a battery energy storage system, and it's been controlled. So the entire solution is delivered on a skid. I think the example that you were mentioning, it would be quite useful in the remote locations. We have some examples around during such kinds of projects. And again, with the complexity of having an EV charger as well
because
onto the skid.
obviously we know that Australia's adoption of EVs has been a lot slower. A lot of people are using transitional vehicles, but especially after what's happening now with the price of petrol, that uptake is going to be logarithmic, and so any system has to be able to cope with the charging of the EV in addition to the consumption loads and profiles of whatever site it's on. And is this software that is used, is this proprietary to Pixii? Is this Pixie's own software?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And the great thing about it is being developed by the engineers sitting out of our Brisbane facility.
Right.
So it's the Australian engineers along with the Norwegian engineers who have made this Pixii EMS solution themselves.
Right.
So everything is coded and written here in Australia and some bit in Norway as well.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
And the battery chemistry, I assume that like nearly everyone, it's a lithium iron phosphate solution, and obviously safety and all the advantages. Look, there are some disadvantages, but they're not really disadvantages. They're not as energy dense. But I mean, who cares about it? As I say, you only care about energy density for when you got a phone.
Yes.
You don't care about, you want safety.
Yeah.
And do the modules have their own individual BMS per module, or what's the kind of monitoring on the battery module side of things?
I think each module has its own BMS on it.
Yep.
And then overarching, there's a Pixii EMS control that sits on top of it to ensure that the batteries and everything concerns are being relayed into our EMS, and we are able to monitor and diagnose if there's any issues around that. That's on it. And then with regards to the safety features, then you would normally have, as a standard, Pixii puts in your fire suppression systems, gas detection systems, as that is part of the standard solution that we deliver.
And they have their own. Obviously, they have their own. They're outdoor rated.
Yes.
And they have their own HVAC. For cooling, and that's the thing with the BESS nowadays. They're all Australia is they're not. It's not Scandinavian countries where don't have to worry about the cold.
Yes,
we're talking about the extreme conditions. Yes. It's really, I'm fascinated by. It's all modelled around these small 3.3 kilowatt modules that you can, because there are other companies that have modules that you can expand, but they have an upper limit that is nowhere near as big as what you've said. Yeah. And that's so what restricts Pixii from getting even bigger? What is the defining, I'm not speaking very well. Yeah. But what is the thing that restricts a system from getting adding unlimited modules? What is it?
I think from our perspective, I think we have been very focused in terms of what markets we would want to cater to. Right. So essentially for us, we would want to, in Australia, we would want to work in the C&I space, starting from a 30 kilowatt system up to 5 megawatt. That is a primary market, but there are some opportunities that we can go beyond up to 30 megawatt as well. With the Pixii box, which is the technology that we have been selling in the market so far, we are wanting to be at up to 5 megawatt in that space, but we have also come up with another solution now, which was recently launched at All Energy in last October, where the new solution is called a Power Node solution, which is again built on a similar modular architecture. So instead of using a 3.3 kilowatt inverter, now we are at a 125 kilowatt inverter module.
Oh, okay.
Again, you can then scale it up to 5 megawatt in that space as well.
Right.
The Pixii boxes, that technology was based on 48 volt DC architecture. So the battery voltages were at 48 volts.
Right.
and it has its own use cases as well. A lot of DNSPs or other applications where, again, telecom sector as well, they would want it to be at a 48 volt architecture and not have a 400, 600 up to 1000 volts
gotcha.
into their systems. I think it has its use case, but more and more in the C&I sector, I think we're seeing a lot of opportunities in the C&I sector where there are a lot of developers who are putting solar and battery projects onto embedded networks or facilities where they're trying to reduce their on-site, they're trying to do load optimization on-site, as well as then be market-facing and generate revenue in the wholesale arbitrage market, FCAS as well. I think in that scenario, we are able to pack a higher density of energy and power capacity with the power node solution. And that's what the market was asking, and that's why we have come up with that solution.
Now, we mentioned off camera about the whole FCAS arbitrage, and at the moment FCAS it's a bit of a funny one. It's more arbitrage is where it's at.
Yeah.
Do you know? Are you qualified? So I'll start again.
Yeah. No.
Because I can't think of a better word, but are you qualified to talk about the response times and how that plays a role with the arbitrage side of things in regards to that dealing with that changing price of electricity?
I think I'm more on the battery side of things. I think you'll have optimization platforms who would talk more about those markets, and they would have more knowledge on that. I think from our perspective, the Pixii EMS solution kind of helps, as in on top of the Pixii EMS layer that sits, there's an orchestration layer that sits on top of it, which kind of gives the market signals for our Pixii EMS to discharge or charge.
Yes.
I think that's pretty fast. We can do the very fast FCAS as well, less than 1 second.
Okay.
So I think that's the response time that our systems are capable of doing. Yes.
And at the moment, you were saying that you're sort of concentrating on that community microgrid market. Is that because of the Pixii's background in Norway? Is that what they would were they concentrating on that more community battery market, or why?
I think I think for Pixii in Australia, I think the initial focus was on the community batteries, but now that has shifted to doing more C&I microgrids, going into the mining industry as well. We're trying to sell some energy storage systems there. The reason that Pixii was focused on the community batteries initially was because there was a lot of federal grants funding available in that space, the ARENA funding, and then the 100 Neighborhood Batteries program.
Yes,
I think that's where a lot of opportunities were, and I think I would say the community batteries have kind of helped to mature the battery energy storage space to be replicated in the C&I sector. I think that is something that we have observed.
And it's good to trade on that credibility, because if you're putting your batteries out in a community space, there's more eyes on it. If anything goes wrong, or if nothing goes wrong, it's like, wow, this is fantastic. And you can trade off that by going to the C&I space and going, by the way, we've got these existing systems out. We've been dealing with councils. We've been dealing with statutory authorities. You know, this is easy putting in your engineering business with their existing 300 kilowatts of solar.
Yeah.
So are you going with the C&I space? Are you going straight to the client, or do you go through a system of installers? How do you find this C&I market? How are you catering to it?
So I think for us, we are looking at building partnerships in the C&I space. So be it your installers, your developers, embedded network operators. So they are the ones who our customers are going to be.
So you're going direct to them?
Yes, we are going direct to them. Yes, that's a model that we've chosen, that we would want to directly partner with these organizations, and then support them with commissioning, training providing training and stuff. Yeah.
Because that's really important, isn't it? I'll repeat that. That's really important with training. Like if an installer's dealing with a solar panel, who cares? It's as long as it's tier one and it's the right price, who cares? Inverters, they got their preferences because it takes a little bit of time to learn the ins and outs of programming 9 sun grows for a 1 megawatt system, whatever. Batteries, even more so.
Yes.
So you really need to build up the confidence in the installer that they go, these guys, they're great, got issues. If there's any issues, I can talk to them. It's easy to program.
Yeah.
It's got a good dashboard. Is that your experience? Is what you're finding that the installers are like that and the people?
Yes, I think with the installers, I think they would want things to be easy, and they would want answers straight away.
Yes.
But because most of the installers and engineers are working on site, and if they're calling you, you want a straight answer and not that I'll circle it back. I'll come back. No. So the one of the USPs for us is that Pixie's engineers are based in Australia. Because we write the codes and everything, it becomes easier for us to respond to any of the questions, and we're able to support them remotely, and ensuring that whatever issues that they're currently facing, we're able to resolve it on remotely. And if required, our engineers can fly down from Brisbane to any facility, to any location, and ensure that they fix the issue there. I think that's one of the biggest thing for us. And with Pixii, a lot of end of assembly things, a lot of end of assembly is happening here in Brisbane for us.
Wow.
So that allows us a lot of flexibility in doing customized products for a lot of organizations. So that's really helpful as well. So we're not just selling boxes or moving boxes. We are selling solutions. So that's where we would like to put. We engage with our customers, installers, developers, embedded network operators, DNSPs, engage with them during the design phase. We also provide switchboard as part of a solution. If a customer requires a skid solution, we'll put everything factory test in our facility in Brisbane and just drop it onto the site, kind of a plug and play kind of a solution. That is something that we have the capability in-house in our team. So yeah.
What about remote monitoring? Do you offer that as an option? Like,
no,
is that a extra paid option, or isn't
that goes as a standard feature? The remote monitoring is a standard feature for us. But again, if you would like to, and again, the good part for us is that we allow customization in the dashboards as well. So there are multiple customers who have different requests. We are integrating multiple power sources or controlling loads on site.
Right.
So you can have your diesel fuel usage, how much fuel is left.
Yep.
If you're using a diesel, and then
temperature of the diesel, what RPM it's running at, all of that stuff.
Yes, you can have as much as information that you would like. And again, it depends from organization to organization. There'll be some organization who'd want a basic dashboard, and there'll be some companies who are very engineering focused. They would want all their data to be seen. I think that's a customization that.
Is it a good looking dashboard? And yes. I know that's a simplistic question in a way, but I've seen some dashboards that you go, what the heck is going on? It's too hard. And others you go, wow, this is slick. I can tell straight away what's going on.
Yes. Yeah, again, like I said, that we can do a lot of customization. There'll be some engineers who would prefer a lot of detailed information there, and they would really love it. And then there would be some people who just want to understand how much battery capacity is left, how much is solar generating, and all those basic aspects. And again, it depends who you're talking to and what you're seeing, and it will vary. Generally, those are beautiful dashboards.
Yeah, I mean, there's an art to creating dashboards. At the end of the day, the data has to speak for itself.
Yes.
And you have to use certain techniques in regards to proportion, ratio, and colours and all that stuff. That's a podcast in itself. Because I do a little bit of dashboards in Excel and it's amazing what you can do there. But I'm learning a lot about design.
I think I did see something that you're trying to build SLDs using.
I can. That's a bit more basic because it's black and white.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what Excel and PowerPoint you can do from a graphics perspective. But again, it's no use having crappy data and all these fancy colours and people go, I don't know what's going on. It's a real art. But it's look, I love this idea of the modular side of things, like. And the fact that you've got this down 3.3 and then a 125, you can cover all the markets. So definitely if someone had a home, a decent sized home, and they wanted to put in say 50 kilowatt hours of battery, there's Pixii have got a solution for them by the sound of it.
Yeah, we have a solution where we call it a power shaper unit. Where you can do a 51 kilowatt hours of energy storage, and you can do up to 50 kilowatts of inverters as well.
Wow!
I think we can do.
So it's not just the C&I space really. It is obviously the
we're not focused on
the domestic. I know because that market's quite flooded and
it's quite competitive.
It is very competitive.
Yeah.
But that C&I space is great because you just think of hundreds of businesses that had solar put in 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yes.
Right? And now ringing up those installers going, there's battery rebates. Most of our personnel are driving electric cars. We want to be able to charge this. We want that. We want batteries, blah, blah, blah. Can you help us out? That's the market. Yeah. Well, that's a huge market.
Yeah, that's a huge market. I think, but with the new rebate, the revision in the rebates, I think that would drop, I believe, with the rebates slashing down, and I think it's now going to be tiered. I think what someone could, I think it was somewhere around $17,000 of rebate if you install a 50 kilowatt of battery energy storage. Now that would drop now to $7,000-8,000. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the exact numbers, but that's a substantial drop. I think. But there'll be a lot of businesses who want to have batteries as well. And again, it's not just from optimizing their solar self-consumption. It will also be more on the resilience part as well. I think that is a big thing that a lot of companies would want as part of the solution, that they would want the batteries to operate during grid outages. And then there'll be the other application is more around when your production increases and you would want higher capacity, grid capacity. That's where the batteries could help.
And you're restricted by the incoming. Of course.
And if you have to upgrade it, there's a massive cost to it, and also the time it takes. You would rather install a battery to support you with the additional power that is required.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like that resilience perspective. I remember doing some analysis. This is 10 years ago, and it was on Safeway. And if they lost power to their tills, they're losing $20,000 an hour. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't care about what's in the fridge and the freezer.
Yes.
It's more, I can't process credit cards.
Yes.
And then you think of places like pathology labs that we have vaccine critical. Yes. There's this huge market there of people who require power at all times. And you couple that with the whole, I don't want to use diesel gensets because of carbon accounting.
Yes.
It's a beautiful market to be in. Batteries really are. It really is the go, isn't it? It's not just solar. It's solar and batteries. They have equal footing now, isn't it? It's exciting times for a company like Pixii and stuff.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. I think we have seen a trend that a lot of businesses are wanting to put batteries, not just for self-consumption or on-site optimization. It's more, they're thinking more on the resilience part as well.
Yep.
Like you said, that if there are certain critical loads, there's a cost to it, right? As in, and when you're talking about just optimizing your solar or reducing your on-site electricity bill, I think you're comparing with the grid electricity rates.
Yep.
But when you're talking about resilience, I think I think the cost could be much higher depending upon how you value the loss of
this is the key.
power.
Isn't it? How you value that particular loss.
Yeah.
And I think I want to talk a little bit about what your views are on all these data. We've got 250 data centres in Australia as we speak.
Yes.
They account at this point in time for 5% of Australia's total electrical load, 5%. It's only going to get bigger. We have an infrastructure that's not really changing. I think resilience is going to be a really big issue. Like, I know everyone's saying, oh, all these extra batteries on the grid are going to help, but we've got these data centers and they are just huge. It's just huge consumers of electricity. It really is.
Yeah.
You're in the right industry.
Yes.
You're definitely in the right industry.
Yeah, I know. I think with the compute power that all these AI applications are taking up, I think it is going to create a huge space for battery energy storage systems, and it's going to be more of a given whenever new data centers are being installed. I think we are limited with the grid capacities, and the grid infrastructure is not going to change overnight or upgrade overnight. And if you would want to have all the advancements in the AI and its applications, I think you need a lot of computing power, and that requires a lot of power.
It does.
And the solution is battery energy storage systems. You can support the grid until the grid upgrades itself. I think that is one of the ways you can deal with it, and also it kind of helps in reducing your peak demands and stuff. So I think battery energy storage space is really going to be. So it's not just about reducing the energy. I think what we are calling it is going to be part of the infrastructure, and not just energy storage or energy system. It's going to be part of the critical infrastructure of all these data centers that are going to.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you're talking about these like everything in this world seems to come down to interrelationships between things.
Yes.
People putting storage on C&I spaces, even domestic, they're becoming part of the infrastructure because they're not separate from it. They're part of it. So what they do affects the infrastructure, other parts of infrastructure, and vice versa. So it's just like this balancing act with the one overriding thing is that the DNSPs really don't want to spend more on fixing up their infrastructure.
Yes.
But and that's the reality, because they're a business and they want to make money, and so it really is an interesting area. Do you see are Pixii looking at other technologies to integrate into their system, like other inputs? Like you've got wind, you've got solar, you've got hydro, you've got wave power. Does it have the capacity? Does Pixii see those things as just other inputs?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And interestingly, we are working on I cannot disclose the project name, but we are currently working on an opportunity to integrate small hydro with a battery system.
That's great.
And it looks and again, the Pixii EMS is capable of managing the hydro, small hydro during an event of power outages.
Right.
So it's going to be coupled with the hydropower one. So the battery energy storage system from Pixii.
Very interesting.
Plus, the Pixii EMS is quite a fantastic product, and it can do a lot of integrations. And again, we are technology agnostic in terms of the integrations. We can integrate with any other equipment, and if we are able to do if the comms protocol are either Modbus or MQTT, we are able to communicate with any other device.
I know Modbus. What's the other one?
MQTT.
What's?
So that's the protocol that Pixii uses to communicate internally with our internal components as well.
Right.
But I think it's Modbus and MQTT both. These are the comms protocol that we normally use.
Right,
And then
right.
working with DNSPs, we would normally use a DNP3 protocol as well, because the older systems kind of work on the DNP3 protocol.
So to simplify, these are languages used to talk between components.
Different electronic
Yeah,
components.
gotcha. Yes.
Yeah. And and because our engineers are based in Brisbane, we are able to integrate a lot of new equipments, EV chargers, different types of solar inverters, diesel generators, and gas generators, hydropower plants and stuff. We can do host of things with the Pixii EMS solution. So it allows. It's also one of the key USPs for us. With the
This
digital
is
system.
really, it sounds like a USP, definitely. Is this, without giving too much away, is Australia a bit of a leading the way when it comes to this stuff, and what Pixii learns from Australia may be applied to other countries? I mean, and by the way, what other countries is Pixii, apart from the Scandinavian countries, what other countries does it operate in? New Zealand and places?
So the Pixii is headquartered in Norway. So we cater to the Scandinavian countries, of course, but the larger European countries as well. Then we have our offices in Americas. So we have a base in US. We have a team in India, and we have a team in Australia. So Australian team specifically looks after Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's a lot of learnings that happens between different regions. Australia is definitely one of the leading countries in the battery energy storage adoption.
Yeah, yes.
And with the recent battery rebates, it has become a household appliance or a equipment at everyone's home. They've gotten pretty used to it. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of learning that is happening between different regions for us. Yeah.
I see why you were attracted to the company, right? Yeah. I've did a little bit of research, but after this conversation, I'm going to do a hell of a lot more. It's really wonderful. What are your thoughts like this whole industry moving forward? What do you envisage anything? What changes do you see happening?
Yeah,
this is purely your opinion, right?
No.
Well, what changes do you see happening? Say maybe in the next 5 years' time.
I think so. One of so the product manager at Pixii, Darren, I think he has this, and I quite agree with him that the future is going to be more decentralized. It's also going to be, we're talking about DC microgrids.
Yes.
There, we think that the existing infrastructure, I think a lot of new builds would move towards DC microgrids and not be limited by the grid. You have a lot of DC loads that are coming up with the EV chargers, electric vehicles, or large. If for example, if it's a warehouse, there are a lot of battery operated machineries running, and you can directly charge it off the DC bus rather than
more efficient. Of course.
More efficient.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that the future will move towards DC microgrids, where you have all the DC we have a DC bus, you have all your DC loads plug onto it, you have your solar which is generating DC, it's directly on it, and you're not limited by the grid. So you can, if say for example, if you have a 500 kilowatt grid connection,
yes,
but there's a lot of load, and when you put a lot of EV chargers, a lot of EVs into the picture, the peak, you won't be able to cater to the you are restricted by the grid, right?
You're dead right.
So you can have your solar directly onto the DC bus, you can have your loads onto the DC bus, and you just draw power from the DC bus, and the grid doesn't need to know.
This is really interesting.
And you can put a lot of, and again, you can put as much as solar you would want. Again, you'll be restricted by the roof space, but you can add a lot of solar onto it directly onto the DC bus. It's not facing the grid. It's more on the DC side of it, and you can have your battery energy storage system again on the DC side.
Right.
And whatever needs to be interacted with the grid, you just have a 500 kilowatt inverter in that space, and that's how it would work.
That's really interesting. I'll add one thing to that. We're a fair way off running out of roof real estate.
Yes.
But once it does, coupled with the price of panels going down, my prediction is that we're going to see a lot of factories having east-west on their walls. East and
building
west.
integrated PVs.
Absolutely. Even at 90 degrees, it'll be cost effective because the panels will be so cheap.
Yes.
And the advantage of having east and west is early charging when the cars just come in, late charging if you miss out, whatever. Because if you're going to have roof, you're going to have an east on the wall, you're going to have west on the wall.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Because we know, look, panels are cheap.
Yeah.
But invariably, when they discover new technology, new materials will come even cheaper. We're so lucky to be involved in this interesting industry, aren't we? Because it's always changing, isn't it? That is one of the downsides, though. If you leave the industry for a month or two, where am I now? Type thing. That's the way I feel.
I think that's the reason. I think what led me to get into the battery energy storage space, because I think with the solar industry, it has still matured enough now, and it's become kind of a commodity now. With the battery energy storage space, I think it's still a few years away from being mature.
That's it.
I think once it becomes mature, I think it again will become like a commodity. But I think the industry is fast changing. I think at a rapid pace, and you just need to ensure that you are able to keep up by undertaking certain courses, continuous learning. I think that's part of any engineer. I think you need to keep continuously learning about the new things that are happening in the industry, and I think that's how you'll try to keep up with the pace that the industry is changing. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. That was fantastic. I'm excited. I'm more excited again. I was feeling a little bit under the weather at the start of this, and I've been revitalised with this conversation. I am, and we are so lucky to be involved in this industry.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful that you came down and spent some time talking to us about not only your life in India growing up and your love of renewables, but also Pixii. I'm definitely going to look more about Pixii.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
No, yeah. Thanks for having me on this podcast. I've been following your channel. I think you guys are putting out some inviting some great speakers, and it has been a wonderful experience. I was looking forward to this, but I would like to thank you on that.
My pleasure, and it is all the guests actually. It's all we're very lucky. We've had great guests. That's great. All right, thank you.
No, thanks.
We'll do a show.
Yeah.